Going to summer camp was one of the highlights of my childhood. When I first connected with Mary Jane Strom, I was blown away to find out that we both got our summer camp starts at the same exact camp in a small town in Massachusetts. Although I didn't join a Girl Scout troop as a kid, I did go to a Girl Scout summer camp, Camp Greenery. And to this day, I have such fond memories of the fun and growth and friends I experienced there, many of which could only happen at camp. If you've been to camp, you know what I mean. You're about to hear the perks of working at summer camp, Mary Jane's goal to open water swim in all 50 states, and some common misconceptions about Girl Scouts. This is See Her Outside, Stories from Women Who Adventure. I'm your host, Angie Lake. Mary Jane Strom is the CEO of Girl Scouts of Northern California, a lifetime Girl Scouts member, and a Gold Award recipient for her project focused on increasing access to outdoor spaces for all girls and women. It all started at age 8 with her first sleepaway camp, a birthday gift from her aunt and grandmother. That 1 week at camp sparked years of Girl Scout camp experiences, eventually leading her to direct and manage multiple camps across Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and California. Mary Jane is also working towards completing open water swim events in all 50 states, having completed 19 so far. I asked Mary Jane if she had any of those only at camp memories.
Oh, so many memories. So I'm a lifelong Girl Scout, and I started going to camp at age 8. Well, I started going to day camp earlier than that, but my favorite camp is sleepaway camp, and I did that at age 8. My aunt sent me as a birthday present, and I went every summer on my birthday. So kind of a unique birthday gift to spend your birthday every year with like 200 other girls singing happy birthday to you and in the woods and having a great time at camp. But that was my experience all through growing up. And I would say as the oldest of 5, I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters. For me, camp was always a vacation. And I think when I talk to other people about this, other adults now, it sounds weird that an 8 or a 9-year-old would need a vacation, but our oldest children have a lot of responsibilities at home, as we know now. And I was definitely feeling that. So it was like a space where I could go away, be myself, make all new friends, and just explore and try new things. So I think for me, lots of things popped at camp. I would say my love for camping in general, backpacking, for boating. I love to go on canoe trips at camp. But my favorite space at the sleepaway camp I went to, Camp Greenery in Harvard, Massachusetts, was we would swim to Blueberry Island. And it was like a weekly thing. The top swimmers could hop in the water and the counselors would follow us in a canoe or in the rescue boat. And we would swim to this island in the middle of the pond and back to camp. And I think doing that as an 8 or 9-year-old with all of like the big kids, the like high schoolers, was really powerful for me. I think it made me think like, oh, you can do these really cool things, even though you're 8 or 9, and you can do them all by yourself. So yeah, I think that's probably my most favorite camp experience.
Mm-hmm. And I have just these amazing memories of clapping for, I don't know what they call it, but we would lie down on the beach in a circle and we would do this clapping pattern to make the bats come out.
Oh yeah, to do the bat calls.
Yeah, they still do that. Oh, great.
Yeah, absolutely. I did that. I'm sure we would do like on the beach or in the A field. Yeah, for sure. I remember that. That's a total. You probably went to Night Owls.
There was one, I think.
Really cool, like stay awake all night program.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you do like all of the outdoor, like learn about all the animals that come out at night. Yeah, that's like stargazing. That's a great program. We do that. We do a program like that here too in Northern California.
It sounds so awful as an adult, but as a kid, it's a dream.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why do you think those summer camp experiences of like growth and independence and trying new things, why is that so much easier to do at camp than it is at school or maybe even at home with your family?
Yeah, I think it's a shorter period, right? So you're going away. And I actually, like, sometimes parents will say to me, oh, she doesn't have a buddy to go with, or we can't convince her friend to go. And I went my first summer with one of my best friends, and that was great. And then another summer with my sister, and that was horrible. Like, we never should have gone to camp together. She was much younger than me, and she was very homesick, and that just wasn't my personality. So kind of cramped my style. So I tell parents all the time, it's totally cool to go by yourself because she's going to meet all of these new friends and she can be herself. She can test out different personalities. She can try new things. And then, if she messes up, it's a supportive environment. So she's not going to feel like she's failing, like she's going to be learning from whatever mistake. But it's not like school where you're like known as that kid that did that thing for, years after that, right? You're maybe never going to see some of these girls again, or maybe they're all going to be like pen pals or now with social media, friends for life.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a shorter period, but it's an intense period. I also think that it's an opportunity for girls to be with girls their own age, and the people in charge, the leaders at camp, are the generation between the girls and their parents, typically. So it's usually college-age women that are in charge at camp. And so they've most recently been the age of the girls. So I think there's a certain freedom in that too. Maybe they listen a little bit more when the adults say something, and maybe it's a little bit different than when your parent corrects you or when your parent makes a suggestion. So I think that's also a unique part of Girl Scout camp.
I spent a few years directing overnight camps for the Girl Scouts, actually. And one of the beautiful things I got to witness was all of those perks that the girls are getting, that the kids are getting. A lot of the counselors and a lot of the staff are getting it too. That compressed time period, even if the staff are there for an entire summer, that's an entire summer where they can almost reinvent themselves year after year. And they're in, again, that supportive environment where it's okay to mess up. It's okay to learn lessons the hard way. But you're also with a whole bunch of other people that you might not see the rest of the year. And so this is your chance almost to express a different side of yourself that maybe you haven't been comfortable doing at home or at school.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm, absolutely. I worked at camp as a counselor for 9 summers. And then when I was with Girl Scouts of Eastern Massachusetts, I supervised 17 different camps in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. So roaming around to different day and resident camps and working with young adults. One of my favorite things to do is when they're later on going for a job and they need a reference, my favorite thing to do is to give a camp counselor or a waterfront director or a camp director a reference, because people do like hop on the phone and say like, so summer camp, that must be fun, right? Or that must be easy. And there's so many components to being a camp staff member, no matter what your job is. Like there's transportation, food service, and then the youth development aspect of it. There's a lot of safety and organization and planning. And I feel like, in particular, the folks who manage the adventure activities, whether it's the waterfront or the high ropes or the trip and travel, those folks are super resilient. They know how to plan. They know how to change up a plan when something happens. Those are the people you want to employ at any office, right? And so it's always fun for me to explain that to employers when they're calling to ask about hiring a camp staff member, because I definitely think it's an experience that really shapes you and makes you ready for the workplace.
Anyone who has outdoor leadership experience in general, summer camp or another outdoor sport related job, it is so transferable and valuable to countless other jobs. Even if it's an office job, it's really impressive. And I think like a second here to just shout out our cabin counselors, because I think a lot of times, you see the high ropes person, the Rockwell person, the canoe person, and you're like, oh, cool. Like it's very 1980s summer camp, cool person movie idea. But the cabin counselors are with these kids sometimes like 24/7, right? They are there if a kid wakes up at 3 a.m. or if there's like a potty incident, a poop incident. Like these are the staff that are going to basically take the place of parents for a week sometimes. And I don't think they get enough love.
No, absolutely. That's a tough, tough job. And I think we've gotten much better about like understanding camper needs and talking to families ahead of camp to know what before she comes to camp. So we're setting them up for success a little bit better. But sometimes there are just things that come up that, they're just thrown and they have to figure out like how to help this person, how to manage the situation. And you're right. It's like 24/7. They're always on. I mean, they're sleeping some of the time, but I can't tell you the number of times I was woken up in the middle of the night for something. Yeah.
Totally. While we're digging into almost like the business of camp, I'm curious what trends you've seen over the decades, because in my experience, when I was working in camps, I worked at a day camp before moving into overnight camp. And I saw this shift from when I was a kid in New England. Families would send their children off to camp for like 8 weeks, right? And you might see them once in between. And then when I was working in camps years later, it was going down from a week-long program to sometimes 3-day programs. And oftentimes parents will now go to camp with their kids. So it's just like these changing dynamics. And it makes me wonder if our next generation is going to flip-flop back to the quote unquote old ways. What have you seen?
I think it definitely goes in cycles. And I think you're right that it's changed over time and it really depends on the generation that's parenting. So I remember going to camp for 2-3 weeks in the summer. And, growing up in New England, there were those all summer camps, 8-9 weeks of the summer. But Girl Scout camp, I feel like was always 1, 2, or 3 weeks, and maybe some of those 3-day short sessions. It's definitely a progression. We saw the 1 week be the most popular stay at camp pre-pandemic. And I think that's more of a scheduling thing than anything. Like, I think all the girls I saw going to camp for 1 week could totally have stayed for 2 or 3 weeks, but they were going to like a soccer camp or they were going to a softball camp. So they had to, schedule out their summer, and maybe all they could fit in was 1 week of Girl Scout sleepaway camp. But I think during the pandemic, people really missed that time together and those summer opportunities. And so when we were coming out of the pandemic and doing things in pods, it gave us the opportunity to start doing longer stays. So we had some real success here in Northern California with 3-week sessions at all of our camps. And that's just because we had smaller groups and we needed to accommodate folks differently. And we started to reintroduce 1 and 2 week sessions 2 summers ago. And now I would say, depending on the camp, the 2 week is most popular with our high school girls, and the 1 week is more popular with our like 4th, 5th, 6th graders.
That's so fascinating. It changes so quickly.
Yeah. It does. It definitely goes up and down. And I think also it depends on like what your definition as a parent is of camp. Like if you went to camp, I think you're probably more likely to say, try a longer stay. But if you're new to camp too, then maybe a half a week or day camp even is a better first try. And we do the family programs now to also like introduce the whole family to camp together. So we have a camp in the Santa Cruz Mountains, Skylark Ranch, that has family camping options. And that's just a really great opportunity for the whole family to try out camping together. So once they go, they're hooked. They're going to want to go every summer. And then hopefully it's longer and longer every time.
Totally. Can we hear the story of your career in camp and Girl Scouts and the outdoors? Like, how did you get to where you are today?
We didn't have Daisy Girl Scouts when I was younger. So I started at 7 as a brownie, and we would go to this day camp in my town, Camp Hickory Hill. And then when I was 8, I went to sleepaway camp. I went to sleepaway camp all the way through at that same summer camp, Green Erie, until I was 15. And then I did the counselor and training program, which is like a 3-week training program to be camp staff. And then I did that again the next year. I got asked back to do counselor and training 2, and then hired at the end of that summer because I had my lifeguarding and they needed people to work on the waterfront. So that's the first job I had, was teaching swimming and boating at camp. And then I did that for many summers all the way through college. And then post-college, I thought, let me look into what kind of jobs there are in the outdoors because I love this. So I worked for a place called Nature's Classroom, which is super popular in the New England area. But fifth graders go away for a week with their whole class and study nature in the outdoors. And then found my way to Girl Scouts of Eastern Massachusetts as a program specialist and camp director. And then eventually was the head of the outdoor experience department for Girl Scouts of Eastern Massachusetts. I did a little bit of time at the American Camp Association in ACA New England, and then came back to Girl Scouts and was with Girl Scouts of Eastern Massachusetts until 2017, and made my way out here to Northern California to be the senior director of Camps and Adventure, and then became the chief program officer, and then the chief mission delivery officer, which is our version of COO, and then CEO last year.
You know how we were just talking about how summer camp counselors will be applying for, say, desk jobs or a 9-to-5, and it's hard to communicate the value of being a camp counselor. What was that like for you, spending your entire career in camps and Girl Scouting? Like, did you get any pushback from society or people about, like, that's not a real job, or that must be easy and fun?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, especially like I think 8 summers working at going to summer camp, especially like when you have your lifeguarding and there's this whole like image that you could make more money, like working at the beach or going to the ocean. I definitely got pushback from family, from friends. Like, you could get a job anywhere. Why do you keep going back here? And the same thing, I think, when I was a program specialist, because entry-level Girl Scout jobs, you know, it's like, not that easy. And I think that I loved it, and it was rewarding enough. And it's always been hard for me to explain to other people, but it's just, it's an experience that I really enjoyed and felt like I was learning and also giving back. So, yeah. But you're right. Most people do think it's weird to be working for a nonprofit, I think. And a lot of people, because we do rely on volunteers at Girl Scouts, and we have so many wonderful volunteers, you do get a lot like, oh, I didn't know that was a paid position. So, yeah.
You've been on both sides then. You've been the person being hired to work at these places, and now CEO, like you're at a management level. Do you have any tips from either end for people who want to have a job or a career in outdoor leadership, especially with youth? How can they take that experience and communicate the value of that to other jobs? You know what I mean?
So for communicating to other jobs, I think it's looking at the things that you take for granted, maybe, because I think when you work in the outdoors, you get really good at troubleshooting. But when you really think through a day, like even if you just write down the day on paper and you think about all the things that you did and translate those things into the workplace, like when I would talk with camp directors when they were getting ready to apply for full-time jobs somewhere else, we would look through the day and I'll say, like, okay, you had 12 buses arrive at camp today with 300 kids on them. And you managed all of that with 65 staff. And like, how did you do that? Like, what skills did you use to do that, right? You had to plan ahead, you were troubleshooting, you were communicating, you had an emergency backup plan. Like, all of this is, you're not thinking about it because it's just something you've been trained to do and you've learned to do at camp. And so you just do it, but communicating what that's all about. Or like if you have a camp of, 200, 300 kids and you're feeding them 3 meals a day and a snack, like that's an amazing amount of organization and skills right there that you can easily translate to any job, right? It's food service, it's safety, it's organization, it's making something that's routine fun, like all of that, the whole day in the outdoors. And then I think if you're a trip and travel person, like planning to go from point A to point B, it like seems simple, but so many things pop up along the way. And so if you think through all the trips that you've taken or the classes that you've taught and how you had a plan, but then the plan didn't go the way you wanted, and like all the skills you used in order to make sure that everybody still had a fun and safe experience. So for communicating to other people about the job, I think I would, think through a day or typical week and think about all of the things that pop up or the scenarios that happen and how you dealt with them, and then translate those into like specific skills that employers would be looking for. I think if you look at like 21st century skills, all of them are there. So really easy to communicate that way.
What stands out to me with that is, well, first of all, it's a great tip, great exercise, but also I'm just, again, seeing this parallel with what we do and how kids grow is the same as what adults do and how adults grow. So I'm thinking back to when I was in my summer camp managing days, and we taught our staff about level 2 compliments. I'm not sure if you do this too, but so a level 1 compliment would be like you watch your child at the rock wall and they get to the top of the rock wall or not, whatever. They come down, you're like, nice work, you crushed it, high five. And a level 2 compliment would be about who they are becoming. Like, wow, that was great how much you showed your bravery or something like that. And it's sort of the same thing. Like if you're translating to a resume as the way that you should be complimenting kids to help them see like the real value of what they just did.
Yeah, absolutely.
If your ears are perking up looking for some job search or career building advice, we have an awesome resource for you. Download our workbook on how to use your adventure for your career goals. We have 5 different activities in there to help you use your experiences in the outdoors to show off your skills in the workplace. You will learn to determine skills that transfer from adventure, to put an adventure on your resume, to share about your experiences on places like LinkedIn, and even to speak more confidently when networking. Download it now in the show notes. Now, back to my chat with Mary Jane. So knowing that there are so many opportunities to show that bravery and get out of your comfort zone at camp, do you have a story that illustrates that importance?
Yeah, so I was thinking about what we were just talking about, how swimming to Blueberry Island or swimming across the pond at Camp Green Airy really was a space for me to try something that I was already good at, but in a different way. So I've been a competitive swimmer since age 5, but I had never swum outside the pool, like other than, regular trips to the beach with family. So swimming across something or swimming from one place to another was just a new challenge for me. And doing that at camp with my counselors and the older kids at camp gave me the confidence to do it again and again and for longer and longer periods. And I think it's a skill I've kept with me my whole life. And so now I really enjoy open water swimming. It's a huge part of my life. I do a lot of open water swimming, different swim trips, trying to swim across the 50 states. I've done 20 states so far. So I think that that's a skill that I never would have had I not gone to summer camp. I think just the space at camp, the people around me, and the opportunity to do something hard like that, and then being able to do it successfully allowed me to keep doing it. And I see that happen at camp all of the time. Most recently, we had a camp where we have a biking program, and the kids take different bike trips. And some are shorter and some are longer. And no matter who you are, you can, borrow a bike and go on a trip with your group wherever they're going. And one of those trips was like a 6-mile trip to this ice cream store where they would get an ice cream cone with their Trading Post money, and then they would bike back to camp. And so this whole group, I think they were 5th graders, took off on this bike trip, 6 miles, got their ice cream cone. And when they were eating their ice cream cone, one of the girls said to the counselor, you know what, when I get home, I think I'm going to ask my mom to take my training wheels off because I can do this by myself. And I was just like, oh my goodness, like she just biked 6 miles, but at home she's got training wheels on her bike and she doesn't have those at camp, but just like her peers all wanting to do this activity, her wanting to do this activity, feeling safe with the counselors at camp enough to bike, probably for the first time without training wheels, and to go 6 miles and then bike back to camp and then go home. I can't imagine what that would be like for a parent to pick up your kid and have them say like, oh, when we get home, we're going to do more biking because I'm really good at it now, right? So I had that experience with swimming, but I think girls have it with backpacking. I think they have it with trip and travel. They definitely have it on the ropes course. Like you see those girls one summer they'll go halfway up the wall, and then, they're super excited about that, but they'll come back the next summer and they'll go all the way up. And, it's just like, and they will tell you at drop off, that is their goal. Like, they only got halfway up the wall last summer, and their main thing they want to do this year is make sure they go all the way up. Mm-hmm. So I think those are like it's challenge by choice. Everyone chooses their challenge, and everyone needs to feel safe in their challenge. But the opportunity to have that kind of challenge and adventure with supportive adults in a safe space at Girl Scout camp, I think is just amazing for all of our girls.
Yeah. I'm lucky that at the Cairn Project, I get to see that experience in my work, but it's often with adults. We had a fundraising hike in the Grand Canyon, so literally hiking down to the bottom of the Grand Canyon and then back up. And we were with women in their 50s and 60s. And I remember one of them had only started hiking in this past year. And so it was one of those same situations where they were maybe new to a sport and then boom, go into something really hardcore. That is a bucket list opportunity for a lot of people. Take the training wheels off, so to speak. I would love to hear more about your swimming goal in 50 states. I mean, tell us more about the goal and the progress and the challenges.
A while ago, a friend and I, a friend from college, we were spaced out across the country. I was in Boston and she was in Seattle. And we said, let's get together once a year, pick a state, find an open water swim. Has to be like at least a mile. If it touches the ocean, we're swimming in salt water. We're not swimming in fresh water. And then, do a little exploring and see what that state's all about. So we've done 20 states so far. I think the most fun swim would probably have to be here in California, the Golden Gate Bridge. That swim was amazing, super fun. Jumping in off the ferry over at the Presidio and swimming back to Sausalito. Highly recommended if there are any open water swimmers out there. It's a super fun swim. The most unique one was probably the Columbia River. We got to jump off a stern wheeler for the start. And so that was really fun. And then I got my whole start with these open water swim races in Narragansett, Rhode Island, with just like the original open water swim, or maybe it's the Boston Light, I'm not sure. But the Newport Bridge swim was my first swim. And that's a 2.7 mile swim across Narragansett Bay. Wow. So super fun. Trying to do all 50, not quite halfway there, but definitely determined to do it. And then I also love to do swim vacations. So I just did one swim trip to the Isle of Skye in Scotland, and I have one booked in August to do the Inner Hebrides. So really looking forward to that too, where you get to swim, 5K a day in the ocean with people who also love to swim. So super fun vacation.
That is incredible. And I just love this domino effect from swimming at Girl Scout camp to this, swimming around the world, doing long distances. That's so cool. What are you learning about yourself through these distance swims?
So I think for me, just like camp, swimming has always been a place to clear your head and reset. And when you're swimming in a pool, it gets really easy to just do laps and think about your day. I swim on a master's team here in Alameda every morning, and it's a good start to my day to just say, oh, this is the things I have to do today. And, while you're doing laps, you kind of mindlessly chat with yourself. But when you're open water swimming, you're looking at, you're jumping off a boat, or you're starting from the beach and you're swimming from point A to point B, and you have a plan. But when you're in the water, the current is not what you expected, or the waves or the chop are more intense than you thought they were, or you're swimming along, you're going at a good clip, and all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of jellyfish, and you have to figure out how to navigate that. So it makes swimming for me a little bit more of an adventure. It's still that space where I know how to do it. I don't have to think about what my arms and legs are doing, but I do have to pay attention. I do have to make decisions when you're going from one place to another. And it's challenging, and it seems like more of an accomplishment, I guess. I kind of feel like I flipped that trying to get a faster and faster time over to trying to go further and further or do harder and harder open water distances. But I'm loving it. So
That is the first time I've heard someone explain it in that way, and it's making so much sense now because the way it's like the difference for me as a runner between running around a track versus running in the mountains, or even I can think of like ski and mountain bike examples, but I've never heard someone explain distance swimming in that way, and it's clicking. And now I get it, even though I'm still terrified by the idea. Are you documenting these in any way? Like, are you keeping a blog or a photo album, or like, is there a way to follow along?
We were totally doing that, and then we got a little bit lazy about it, but we should get back on it.
Yeah, it could almost be like a book, like a coffee table book where there's like a photo and an essay about each one. Hey friends, one more quick interruption, but it is super important. We have dozens of incredible stories here on See Her Outside, and we want to share hundreds more voices to come. So, would you help us reach more listeners by sharing an episode with a group of friends? This podcast is for anyone who knows that personal transformation comes from time outdoors, and for people who want to amplify women's voices in media. Please, please, please take a moment now to text this episode or any other episode to a friend. Please and thank you. All right, here is more about summer camp. In my experience, there are like camp people and then non-camp people, and people who have been to summer camp or who work at summer camp. Like, they get it. It's like a weird different universe with its own language, its own living situations. And people who haven't been to summer camp are probably like, what the heck are you talking about? And sometimes I think the same thing with Girl Scouts. Having worked at Girl Scouts myself, again, we have like lingo, traditions, really amazing programming that if you haven't been a part of it, you might not totally understand. So knowing that you're a CEO, what do you think the media or like the general population, non-Girl Scouts, get wrong about Girl Scouts?
Yeah, I do think that several things. I don't want to say everything, but several things. I do think there's a lot of focus on maybe like how the Girl Scout image has showed up in movies or on TV, right? So it's like a lot of like selling cookies or like smiling or crafts. And I do think that they maybe underplay or don't talk enough about how having this all girls space with safe, supportive adults really is a sisterhood. And maybe we should talk more about how it is a sisterhood. But I think that having, maybe you were lucky enough to have your own family or your own sisters, and that's great. But this is like also a sisterhood where you're meeting these girls. Maybe it's at your troop meeting, or maybe it's at summer camp, or maybe it's at some trip or travel program. But it's you, a bunch of girls your age, supportive adults, and you're doing these really special experiences together, and you're learning about yourself, you're learning about others. There's a lot that I think that you learn about communicating. There's a lot about building teamwork that happens at Girl Scouts. I think there's a lot of conversations that happen at Girl Scouts that are really important. I know when I was a brownie or a junior, we were really focused on badges. And I think that that's still true today. And if you think about badges, they're kind of sampling a whole bunch of skills. And that's exactly what you should be doing when you're 5, 6, 7, is trying everything out, figuring out what you like best, right? Having as many opportunities as possible. And then when you're like 10, 11, 12, you're focusing in on like 2 or 3 of those. And so that's when we see troops or groups start to say like, I want to go backpacking, or I want to go on this, trip to another country, right? It's picking an interest and then like diving deeper into it when you're in middle school. And then we see our high school girls saying, I know how to do all these things, and I've had all these experiences, and now I'm going to give back, and I'm going to take the lead, and I'm going to teach others all the things I know. So now you're learning to be a leader, you're learning to teach, you're learning to advocate for yourself and for others and for your community. I think our highest awards program, the media does not talk about enough.
Not enough at all.
My Gold Award project was around increasing access to the outdoors for all. Because of the camp experience that I've been talking about today, I knew that a lot of people in my life had to come together to pay for camp. Camp is expensive. And I also knew that I met a lot of cool people at camp, and I wanted every girl to have that experience. So I worked on this project to make sure that anyone who wanted to go to camp could go to camp, and then partnered with different agencies in the city I lived in to make sure that we were reaching kids everywhere and helping them get ready to go to camp, and then followed them through going to camp. For some reason, we're not talking about girls and their experience and what they're contributing to the community as much or enough. Going to a Gold Awards ceremony actually this Sunday, and it's our council-wide Gold Awards ceremony. There's going to be 80 girls there that are receiving their Gold Award or have over the past year. And every year, the projects just are amazing, and I'm so impressed by everything they're doing. And I think if we were ever to, like you said about a book before for the swimming, I think there should be a book about all of the things that these girls have done for the community. Because if I think about just in this last year, what our high school Girl Scouts have done for Northern California, it's amazing.
Yeah.
We have all of these projects around making the world and their community a better place. Some of them are focused on teaching children. Some of them are focused on fixing an issue in their town or city. Just amazing work that all of our girls are doing. And I would say the top interests right now for our girls are women's issues, mental health, and the environment. So a lot of that going on as well. And I think it always makes me, after going to these ceremonies, it always makes me hopeful for the future, because I know these are the folks that are going to take care of us when we're old. And if that's what we have to look forward to, I think we're all set.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I'd also like to just reiterate the image of Girl Scouts in movies or TV. It's just not true. I mean, what in my experience, the councils where there are volunteers who are really passionate about certain topics or activities, those will get passed down to the kids as well. And so, if you're in an area where there are no volunteers who are into outdoor sports, it's going to be harder for those kids to access outdoor sports. But when I was at Girl Scouts, I got to go snow camping with the kids, backcountry canoeing. There are so many opportunities. We just need more volunteers. Like you said, volunteer-run organization.
Yeah, we absolutely need more volunteers. And I think if anyone is a recent grad or looking for something to do, it doesn't have to be a troop leader.
Right.
There can be all other kinds of volunteer experiences with Girl Scouts. And so, really looking at making sure that all of our adults are supporting the program.
Totally. Well, I've heard a bunch of misconceptions about the Girl Scout cookie program. And one that I heard lately was about how adults are doing all the work. They just, get their friends to buy the cookie boxes and the girls aren't actually doing anything. What would you say about that?
I would say that is, adults are doing a lot of work, but I would say that is not true. I think sometimes when we see the cookie program, it's seen as just a regular fundraiser, like other people are doing fundraisers out there for their sports team or whatever. But it is a whole financial literacy program and really intentional at every age level, just like the outdoor progression that we were talking about. There's a financial literacy progression and a business progression. So at every age level, there are different things that the girls are learning about running a business, about managing finance. So I would say our youngest girls are learning communication skills, standing, out at the supermarket, talking to strangers, asking them to buy cookies. I think they're also learning inventory skills. They're learning how to manage shortages and talking to other groups to say hey, I need more Thin Mints, but we have too many peanut butter sandwiches. Can we swap with you? All of that negotiation is going on behind the scenes. It's a full-on business run by girls, supported by adults, right? Because a lot of our girls can't drive, and so they need someone to pick up the cookies with them. All of those things definitely supported by adults. And we have wonderful adult cookie volunteers, and all of our parents are very active in the program too. But the girls, it's their business, and they're doing it to provide experiences for themselves for the future, right? A lot of the girls that are selling cookies are going to use that money to go to camp. They're going to use that money to take a trip. They're also giving back We had many girls last year give to different causes that they believe in. One of the big ones being the LA fires. We had a lot of troops here who decided to donate portions of their proceeds to the LA fires. And so that was really wonderful to see two communities coming together and helping their sisters in Southern California. So, yeah, I would say it's more than just cookies. It's more than just a fundraiser. It's a whole business program.
Going back to summer camp and knowing that it is expensive, like you were saying, how are you making camp or any part of the Girl Scout program more accessible to families and girls these days?
Yeah, so it costs a lot to run camp, right? We own and operate beautiful facilities across the whole footprint, and they're amazing, and we want to take care of them. So we have to charge for camp what it costs, what that's worth. But also we know that we want everyone in our footprint to be able to go to camp. So we have a financial aid process that is built around what a girl needs, what their household income is, how many people are supported by that income. And we work really hard with girls and their families to make sure that they have all of what they need in order to go to camp. Beyond the cost of camp and the finances, it could be help getting their physical filled out at their doctor's office. It could be help with gear to go to camp. We have amazing gear libraries with backpacks and sleeping bags and all of that. So if anyone wants to go to camp, we're being really upfront and letting them know we have everything that you need. Let's have a conversation. Let's figure out how to get you there, because we definitely need and want every girl in Northern California to have a sleepaway summer camp experience.
If somebody's listening and they are a parent or guardian to a kid, because you can go to Girl Scout camp without being like in a troop, as a common misconception there, what would you say are the top 3 things that they could expect by sending their kid to camp? What are the benefits that they might not know about?
I would say the top 3 benefits I hear from parents are she has more confidence. She's advocating for herself more. She's speaking up more. I would say number 2, she's doing more at home. She's being more proactive about the things around the house, but also her schoolwork. So more of a sense of ownership over herself and the things around her. And then I would say confidence and the ability to communicate with others. I think leaving your family and going away on your own, you really, especially when you get to share a cabin with new friends, I think you learn a lot about other people and it helps you with communication skills. So I would say communication skills are right up there as well. Mm-hmm. And then it's just a good reset. If there are parents out there who are concerned about like screen time or indoor activities, it's a good reset to just be at camp. We don't have like a strict no tech policy. We find that some kids need that, but it is there is less of it, and it is harder to use it in the woods. And so I think just being out in the woods is a good opportunity to, put your phone down and reset and connect with nature.
I can't say enough great things about summer camp, so hopefully that convinces you to help send a girl to camp someday. I also hope this story shows you that you can build a career around your passions, one that helps more girls and families access the outdoors. I asked Mary Jane to share one more example of how summer camp can help young adults pursue a job or a career that they love.
Another one of my favorite things about camp is watching people grow up. And I've been, in the camping industry so long, I've had the opportunity to see that. So I've had several folks that have been campers of mine that have then gone on to work at camp and run camp. And I think of like one camper in particular that I met when she was still one of our campers in our camp program and had fallen in love with our sailing program. And then, went to the counselor in training part of it, learned how to be a skipper and how to teach sailing, and then really took a liking to windsurfing as well and started to teach that. And then eventually became the windsurfing and boating director at this camp, and then the waterfront director, and then finally the camp director. And it was just really amazing to watch her, figure all of that out and become, like a whole person and a leader in the Girl Scout world and in the camp world. And she went on to work at, like lots of our folks, leave Girl Scout camp and go on to other opportunities, but she went on to another camp program, which she's running now in the DC area for, multiple camp locations. So I just think like the skills she built as a kid and watching those grow through the years into like this adult that she's become and this leader in the camping community. It's just every time I'm at like the American Camp Association conventions or any of the camp leadership conferences in California or anywhere in the U.S., and I run into somebody that I met through Girl Scouts and I see them being successful in other places, it always makes me really happy just to see, like, I actually think a lot of the camping world is full of former Girl Scouts and people who's got their love for the outdoors and their start in the camping industry in one of our Girl Scout programs. So yeah. I know I did, but there are a lot of other me's out there.
And I did too. I mean, I have so much to thank for my kid Girl Scout experiences and my being an employee Girl Scout experiences. They totally shaped my work and my life today. If you didn't download our How to Use Your Adventure for Your Career workbook yet, go get it now. It's free and a practical way to take some of what Mary Jane shared about and apply it to your own life. If you care about closing the gender gap outdoors and in, you're invited to get involved with our work at the Alliance for Gender Equity in Outdoor Adventure. We have our Trailblazer program, which is an opportunity for you to turn your next adventure into a grassroots fundraiser that opens doors for other women. We have Gritlit, our adventure book club subscription. And of course, we have the See Her Outside podcast. A 5-star rating and review from you will help us keep creating episodes that inspire women and girls to share their own voices and adventures with others. See Her Outside is brought to you by the Alliance for Gender Equity in Outdoor Adventure, hosted by me, Angie Lake, and edited by Allison Castingway. Please make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button now so that you don't miss any future episodes. And we'd love to stay in touch with you, so send your feedback to Angie@cairnproject.org so that we can team up in our mission to close the gender gap and work towards a more inclusive outdoors. Until next time, go get outside.